dusk settled over San Diego on Veterans Day, November 11, 2011, top-ranked North Carolina faced Michigan State in an early-season men's college hoops matchup, played in a wildly unique environment. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
You can see the time. Wittenberg, it's a long ways.
Draymond Green finds Lucius for the win. He got it.
One timeout, they don't take it. He got it. He got it. Butler
Gets it in. Booker gets it off. This one's good if it goes.
Oh, dude. Oh, goodness.
That Friday, the Tar Heels rolled to victory, playing on the outdoor court spread across the flight deck of the USS Carl Vinson. It was the first time a college basketball game was ever played on an active aircraft carrier. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama sat courtside with 8,111 fans, many of them active duty military in uniform, to take in the spectacle that for viewers at home was like watching a Norman Rockwell painting of a modern-day USO show. The teams wore special camouflage patterns on their uniforms with USA on the nameplates. During the first half, the game was paused, while the sailors on board the Carl Vinson conducted an evening retiring of the colors at sunset. Aside from the president, the crowd included everyone from Magic Johnson to James Worthy. There was no shortage of NBA and celebrity greats in attendance. Those serving had the privilege of meeting basketball legends, while the NBA icons enjoyed an even greater privilege of making the acquaintance of our military men and women. As for those who worked the game, the college basketball referees James Breeding, Michael Reed, and Tony Green, this assignment was a special treat. All three are military veterans, making them the perfect choice for this iconic Veterans Day game. Sometimes we forget that veterans go into all lines of work, from bankers to barber to teacher. Veterans come back home, many of them find themselves in civilian roles. For the veterans Breeding, Reed, and Green, that choice was refereeing, and for the NCAA, selecting these men to call the Carrier Classic was an outstanding, great call. With all five starters as potential NBA first-round picks, and arguably the best front court in college basketball, Harrison Barnes, Tyler Zeller, and John Henson, the Tar Heels looked to show out. Michigan State came into the season unranked, but leading the way for the Spartans was forward Draymond Green, one of the most talented all-around players in college basketball, although he wasn't enough to carry Michigan State to victory that night. North Carolina won convincingly 67-55. The inaugural Carrier Classic was a smash hit. When multiple games were scheduled the following year to recreate the captivating scene, it seemed that a new specialty sports television trend was born. The smash hit ran into too many logistical issues in year two, though, to continue. In 2012, four similar games were scheduled on vessels at Charleston, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, and again in San Diego. Proceeds benefited charitable organizations, including the Wounded Warrior Project, and tickets were available for veterans and members of the armed forces, as well as for sale to the public. The production made the event fun, from the scenery to the jerseys to the player introductions set to the Top Gun anthem. This year, though, only one went off without a hitch. Notre Dame and Ohio State were able to compete in a women's basketball game aboard the USS Yorktown of South Carolina. But the second part of the doubleheader, pitting Ohio State against Marquette, was canceled because of an unsafe amount of condensation on the court. That same night, a Georgetown vs. Florida men's game at the USS Baton, with the Gators leading the Hoyas 27-23, unfortunately came to a close early due to the same condensation issue, and the second half was not played. The game was later canceled, and all stats accumulated during the game were erased. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Midway at San Diego, a game between Syracuse and San Diego State was postponed due to rain and pushed 2 days later to a Sunday afternoon. The game was completed, but the contest, ultimately won by the Orange, was ravaged by wind. As abruptly as the concept had started, the aircraft carrier games became a doomed entity, although the Armed Forces Classic continued on. Since 2012, the event has featured men's college basketball programs competing on military bases and at armed service locations around the world. They went to military bases in Germany, Korea, Puerto Rico, Japan, Hawaii, Texas, Alaska, and it appeared that the weather complications in 2012 had killed the aircraft carrier game. Until Veterans Day 2022. ESPN returned to San Diego Bay to honor Veterans Day with the Peraton Armed Forces Classic, a men's college basketball game played aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. The contest brings Michigan State back to the scene of its 2011 date, this time to face Gonzaga. ESPN brings 2 production trucks, 25 cameras, more than 20 effect mics, and the premise of another broadcast to remember. The ship is a living, breathing city, and we're hoping to show off some of that, says David Cecile, VP of Production, ESPN. This broadcast is a unique day in the life, what goes on, the people on the ship, what they sacrifice. I'm proud to be a part of this. And to have the carrier as the backdrop is pretty remarkable for us. One of the key differences from the show 11 years ago is the result of both general technological development and increased adoption of live aerial cameras. ESPN will have a live drone, a Goodyear blimp, and 2-point cabled aerial camera systems, SuperCam, stretching an estimated 875 feet, nearly the entire length of the ship's deck. All 3 will prove significant in adding a gorgeous imagery to the scene. With the competitors arriving on board, fans lined the stands before the game began on a crisp, partly cloudy afternoon at Naval Air Station North Island, with a full view of San Diego skyline in the background. Military helicopters and jets roared overhead as tip-off neared. The unranked Michigan State Spartans tipped off against number 2 in the nation, Gonzaga. Play was paused during the game to retire the colors again, just as in 2011. Sailors perched along every rail like blackbirds in the dimming light, watching number 2 Gonzaga claw back and survive a Michigan State 3-point attempt at the buzzer, defeating Michigan State 64-63. San Diego soaked up its glamour shot as ESPN panned across the postcard-perfect images of Coronado Bay and downtown. Forget that players used hand warmers on the bench as the game inched into the night. Forget that neither team hit more than 42% of its shots, or 22% from 3-point range, as winds off the San Diego Bay licked the 252-foot-wide flight deck of the nuclear-propelled ship. Mother Nature, the ultimate defender, even played havoc on free throws. The teams finished with a matching 64% from the line. Gonzaga's biggest lead was 3 at 13-10, and the Spartans led by 12 at one point. It held a 59-56 edge with 4 minutes and 21 seconds to play. They landed on the wrong side of the aircraft carrier's drama, though. Gonzaga, one of the top shooting teams in the country, hit just 34.5% of its first half shots, going 3 from 12 from 3-point range. When the chill set in, however, the basketball heated up. That night, however, was an opportunity for military personnel to bend waist on a day devoted to them. The game represented something larger than college basketball, and those involved tasted it. A badly misfired jump shot mattered little. What they do day in and day out, the incredible sacrifice and toughness, it's something that's going to make a huge, huge impression on all of us for the rest of our lives, Mark Few said. It was a rare night when smiles reached from the start of one bench to the end of the other at the end of the game, as it should be. Hopefully, it's not another 11 years until we see this game again. It's a great backdrop for college basketball, and God bless America.